Welcome to Bunch Formation Forever, the newest college football podcast. I am Chris Vannini, and I feel like I'd like to claim a national championship.
Wouldn't we all, Chris? I am David Ubben, and if you hear small children screaming or my sanity quickly leaving my body, it's only because I'm still trying to survive the last week in a tiny Airbnb before we move into our house. Chris, I need space so much. I can't even tell you.
You've had a lot of complaining. By the way, I'm currently in a house with 11 dogs, which is actually fewer than we've had the first couple of weeks. We got 2 puppies left. We're watching a couple of dogs. Everybody's going to be here for week 0, folks. We've got games. We're going to talk about games. We're going to preview and pick the week 0 games. We're also going to give you our conference champion picks, our national champion picks, Heisman Trophy. We're going to remember some guys. And then we're going to talk to an Irish college football reporter, our friend Conall Diggin, who we met back in January at the national championship game. I had a good talk with him. We've got listeners in Ireland and Scotland on this show, David. That's pretty cool.
It is. Shout out to, what is the region called? I forget. There's like a name for it. I don't know.
Not both the British
I gotta
Islands?
be honest, I if I'm keeping it real, Ireland and Scotland run a little bit together for me, but it's all good.
Don't tell them that, because that is very much not a thing you want to
Sorry, Conall. Please keep listening.
Also, Niall in Scotland will also make an appearance on the show, by the way, because he has a reaction to that national championship thing. We'll get into that in a minute. First off, quick reminder, Until Saturday is not coming back. This is our new show, Bunch Formation, me and David. I will stop saying this pretty soon here now that we are into the season, but the show is growing very well. We're very happy with it. We love all the people who have reached out, especially after the last episode, to tell us why you love college football, just like we do. Everything we talk about in this episode will be in the show notes with timestamps if you want to jump ahead. Send all feedback to bunchformationpod@gmail.com. Anything you like, don't like, mailbag questions, what have you, please do that. We'll also read all 5-star reviews on the show on Apple Podcasts because Spotify doesn't do them. And we actually have 2 new 5-star reviews on this episode. We got one from Gator Boy Mike, who says, best college football pod. Awesome show from 2 guys who know ball. I would have been very sad if they didn't make the show after Until Saturday ended. Keep up the great work, Chris and David. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Gator Boy.
We also got N Wiggins 11, who says, great show, such a great show. It helped me get even more excited for college football than I usually am, which I frankly didn't think was possible. I've been recommending it to all my college football fan friends. They love the mix of how informative the show is while also making fun of how ridiculous the sport we all love can be. Thank you, N Wiggins 11. That's exactly what we're going for. He also has a nomination for Remember Some Guys. We're going to save that for the end of the show when we get into Remember Some Guys. But honestly, seriously, every 5-star review, every comment, every tweet, every thing we hear from every single listener really means a lot, because sometimes it feels like we're speaking into a void. So just hearing from everybody is really appreciated. We read all of that stuff. David, anything else you wanted to add?
No, I'm excited about the season. It's here. It's hard for me to not hate my current living situation at every waking moment, but hey, the pod is escapism. So listen, and we're only like a few days away. By the time game week is here, well, close enough, I will be living a much better situation. Yeah, so I'm excited, Chris. Let's do it.
You're good by the end of week 1. But before we get to week 0, we got some news we need to talk about, and that we put in the media scrum.
That's why I don't read the newspaper, because it's garbage.
And we start with those national championships and those Auburn Tigers. On Tuesday, they announced that they plan to recognize the 2004 team as a national champion, but not just that undefeated team that didn't get to play in the BCS title game. It's adding 7 new championships, putting them from 2 overall to 9 overall. Some of them are more legitimate, like 1993, Terry Bowden. Some of them not so much. Some of them have been way retroactively done, which is how other schools like Alabama have done it as well. I think some of this is okay. Some of it is not. Dave, you wrote a column about it. Explain.
This is all very stupid, right? And a lot of the sport is stupid. So why not take advantage of that and make your stadium look more historic, claim all these things? Sure, there's a portion of the internet of your fan base who's going to like grumble, but they're not going to really care. And ultimately it looks cool. Now, where I think this gets extremely funny is you talk about claiming titles from the past, and there's like the UPI poll that doesn't exist anymore. Obviously, the AP poll still exists, but it doesn't factor into literally anything. After the BCS came aboard, the coaches poll was relevant for a while. These are usually where you get some of these claims titles. But if you look at some of these claims, like the 1910 claim is from the Maxwell ratings, the college football rankings. In 1914, there's the Howell ratings. I had to ask, Chris, what's the deal with these ratings? I've never heard of these things before. And it's because it didn't exist at the time. It's literally just some guy made a statistical model and was like, this was the best team that year. These are not like people from the early 20th century. They're just guys now that just made models and then retro like fitted them to the past, and it spit out the numbers and said Auburn was the best team. And Auburn's like, you know what? He's right. We are the best team, and these models are very inconsistent. It's very funny. It's very stupid. But guess what? Nobody's in charge. No one's stopping you. So the thesis of my column is let Auburn cook. You might not like it, but hey, it doesn't matter. And Auburn is going to boost up their own history. And guess how many people are going to check the notes on this in 10 years? There might be some quiet grumbling, but Auburn's going to be like, we have 9 national championships. And 95% of the people who see that will be like, sure, wow, what a program. Especially, Chris, recruits.
Yes, and Alabama's got some very ridiculous ones.
Oh,
ones
yes.
That, like, they weren't even close to being number one, but there was some obscure rating system. My thing is like, so like 2004, undefeated team. No problem with that whatsoever. Even though that was in even though the BCS era, I wrote in 2020, I wrote a column saying that Cincinnati, Coastal Carolina, and San Jose State should all claim shares of a national championship if they finish undefeated. It was that COVID shortened season, because I think anybody who's undefeated can at least make an argument because you didn't lose any of your games. And yes, it's ridiculous, but technically speaking, UCF can claim that UCF claimed championship in 2017 is recognized by the NCAA because of one of the computer rankings. So like,
and it's on their stadium, more importantly, I think. Well, I don't think the NCAA record book even matters.
It's as legitimate as any of these ones that Auburn is claiming. Because remember, UCF beat Auburn that year too, and Danny White said national champion. So no problems with that. So
there's also, no national championship police. So listen,
well, there is
lawless
now.
World. Kind of.
Well, that's
not
the thing.
Retroactively. But if in a lawless land, listen, take advantage of what you got, Auburn. So more power to you.
And the reason I said this is because we're never going to have undefeated teams miss the playoff again. Like, that's not happening in this world. So that's why retroactively fine, because it's not going to be a problem moving forward. There will not be an undefeated group of 5 team left out. Really, last year, first time ever that every team had a path to the consensus national championship. That's why the 12-team playoff is great, and why the BCS and all these things we fondly look back on were not as great as we remember them. Niall in Scotland, our friend who went through a process during the summer to try to pick a college football team. He informed us last week that he had settled on Auburn because of the SEC Unreal show. He really liked it. He dug into them. He liked the idea of it. Well, Niall's having some second thoughts after this national championship claim. Niall emailed in to say, Chris, Auburn are making it really hard to be a fan of them with this claiming old titles thing. Is this a normal thing for college football? As a soccer guy, I don't recognize it. Maybe the recruitment can still be flipped, to which I would say, Niall, yes, this does happen a lot. So it wouldn't necessarily be, I don't know if that's the reason to move off of Auburn if you wanted to, but perhaps Niall's fandom is still up for grabs.
Something to consider. I don't know if it happens that much, though, in terms of just like a school waking up one day and then sending out a press release, be like, remember how we thought we had 2 national championships? Actually, it's 9. That's a new one.
Well, I mean, like, I went to Michigan State. They claim 6. I think 2 of those are consensus or something like that. So it is what it is. Pretty much every school, a lot of schools claim championships. Others don't recognize. Niall, yes, that does happen a lot in this sport. Next bit of news. Oklahoma is selling tickets to the press conference. It is one of these Sooner Magic Moments offerings the program is created to give fans greater access. For two people to sit in on the press conference after Oklahoma, Michigan, where I will be in that press conference.
Is that in Norman? This is at home?
Yes. It costs $692. For the SEC Open against Auburn, it'll be $576. I do not have a problem with this, honestly, whatsoever. Now, if you're bringing in a bunch of people, then maybe it's an issue. I don't. It's not really clear how many fans will be. I'll report back, but I'll report back when I'm
interested to hear this
to see how many people show up. But I generally don't have a problem with this. Lots of press conferences have people who are not media in there all the time, and
boosters kind of just come in sometimes.
Boosters come in, family come in. They just hang out on the back, and I think it would be, if you're a fan, like, I think that'd be kind of cool. Like, this is not the exact same. This is not the exact same thing. I think it would be cool if I was
just
a fan.
Do a meet and greet. Just say, hey, give 5 minutes with coach, whatever.
No, but to see how things work, we take that for granted because we're in the media. But so, like, I went to a couple years ago. I went to SummerSlam, WWE SummerSlam in Detroit with my brother and my dad. And one of the WWE PR guys asked me if I wanted to come to the press conference afterward, because I had done a couple of them before at previous shows. I said, well, I've got my dad and my brother here. And they said, they can come. It's fine. So they just sat in the chairs. We did the press conference. I know WWE is not like a full on real press conference, but I asked a question at the press conference and it was done. My dad thought it was the coolest thing ever. Like, to be that close to some of these people and like see it up close. So, like, I buy that sitting in on a press conference, I think, could be pretty cool. Now, don't have too many people. Make sure they're not making noise and all that stuff. But I honestly have no problem with this.
From a journalism perspective, it's probably fine. From a fan perspective, I feel like a 5-10 minute meet and greet would be much cooler. And, I've been in a lot of press conferences. They're not that cool. But I think ultimately this feeds into one of my least favorite journalism things that has happened. This is kind of the last 10, 15 years in the business. The press conference is supposed to be an exercise to ascertain information. And for a lot of people, a lot of young journalists, a lot of the bad journalists that are experienced, it's become like a show. Like, oh, I need to get my screen time. I need to like say some question that's going to get people talking, and less about like, can we learn something and pass it on to our readership? That's the point of the press conference. The press conference is not like it's when people started broadcasting. I feel like the NBA playoffs and NBA TV kind of started a lot of this, where it kind of became a thing. And then people are watching this, and now obviously all the schools broadcast theirs, and it becomes like it to me, it's like it feeds into that mindset where the press conference is not about learning something or asking questions where you're going to gain information. It's for a lot of people, it's about like creating these like weird viral moments or getting their like moment in the sun, and not about like doing the actual job of journalism, to which press conferences are minimally useful anyway. I'd prefer breakouts and just running around talking to people and trying to have a conversation versus like a moderated press conference. But in reality, I don't think this is going to matter or affect that much. And I think these people are going to be underwhelmed at press conferences in general. But I don't like the attitude leaning more into like, hey, this is a show that we can sell tickets to. It's like, it's really not supposed to be that. So I will get off my journalism soapbox, but that's where I'm at on this.
You want to talk about a press conference that was treated as a show? It was those WWE press conferences, which are
also anything involving Deion Sanders.
Also, by the way, if you're going to the Brent Venables press conference, be prepared to wait for a long time, because he is very late coming to press conferences. Yes,
we need to make a list of coaches that are prompt and coaches who are not. I'd have to think about it, but there are a lot of coaches out there.
Tom Crean was another who took a very long time. So there's that at Oklahoma. I'll report back when I go to the Michigan game.
Yeah.
Last bit here, Florida has face scanning tickets with something called express entry. You can bypass the lines and enter the games using your face instead of your phone or your ticket. Enrollment is free. Not everybody has to do this. Takes less than a minute and as simple as snapping a selfie. Once registered, express entry is valid for all home football games on the fan's account, meaning guests can enter with the account holder without registering themselves. So this is interesting, because this is how I got back into the country from Europe, through customs. They just took a picture and we went through, and I was like, oh, That was actually really simple and really easy. I think this is a good idea. I've seen our friend Matt Brown said he went to a Brazilian soccer game where they did this, and I can see the idea also being like, hey, if someone does something bad, you can identify them more easily. But I also understand there's like concerns about privacy and all that stuff. I think this is a good idea, especially if you can get in a little bit quicker. What do you think?
I don't know. I appreciate the functionality. There's this really obscure book of literature. I don't know if anybody's ever read it or heard of it, but it's called 1984. You mean it's like, oh, this is like the part of the future where I'm like, I don't. If bad actors got a hold of some of this, I don't love all of this. I'm not.
Here's the thing. Here's the problem. I got some news for you, David. Your face is online. It's online right now. I can actually see it.
That's fair. I don't love it. It makes me feel a little uncomfortable. This is solving a problem that I don't think we really had. Like getting fans into stadiums is not that hard. Some places suck at it.
Some places, it's a problem.
Most places, it's like okay and it's fine. I don't love this, but whatever. I mean, the schools are going to do what they want to do. I'm not crazy about them having all this information, but hey, maybe that's just me with my tinfoil hat on. Which, if I was wearing a tinfoil hat, would it ruin the face scan?
I don't know. That's a good question. Anybody, if there's any Florida fans listening who do this, let us know how it goes.
Yeah.
Bunchformationpod@gmail.com. I'm very curious if it actually helps or not. So
yeah,
that's the news. Now it's time to get into our season preview, and we're going to make that the heat check.
Analytics, throw them in the garbage.
And we're going to start with conference picks. We'll go conference by conference, all 10 of them, not the Pac-12. Or wait, 9 of them, not the Pac-12. We'll give our champion and why and what we think about this league. And I guess we'll start off with the ACC. David, my pick, not a surprise because I had them at number 2 in my 136. It's the Clemson Tigers. What about you?
I'm taking little old Clemson. I think I've alluded to it this offseason. I think look at the All-American teams. Look at how many dudes this team has on both sides of the ball. It feels like we're going to get a Clemson revenge tour here. We'll talk more about them later. I don't think this might be a Clemson locks up a spot in Charlotte like November 1st and then waits for somebody to just come get obliterated for a month. I mean, I feel like Clemson's going to absolutely sprint away with this conference. I don't think you could even talk me into anyone else.
I mean, like it is really kind of, they're full across the board. Cade Klubnik's a veteran, multi-time starter. All those receivers who were freshmen last year, they're now sophomores. The offensive line is very deep. We'll see if they can run the ball as well. Defensively, they could not stop the run last year, but Tom Allen comes in. You think they're going to shore up. They got some good pass rushers on that defensive line, so if they can just stop the run. And by the way, LSU in week 1 cannot run the ball, so that helps. And I think you have questions everywhere else in the ACC. I think we do get a Clemson revenge tour. I think we get an I told you so from Dabo Swinney. I'm so high on this team. I think the over-under was
Me too.
9.5, was it? Wins. And I'm like, man,
yeah,
I might take that. I wonder if we're all too high on Clemson and they're the one everybody thinks is going to be great and they're not, but I like them.
Perhaps.
All right. Elsewhere, I mean, like Miami's, they'll be good on the lines, but how good is Carson Beck going to be? We're not sure. Defensively, they got to replace the back end. SMU's got to find some new playmakers for Kevin Jennings.
Game management, I have an issue with Miami. Georgia Tech, honestly, if I had to pick, the second best team in the ACC, I'd probably take Georgia Tech.
I wouldn't go that far, but I think Louisville's going to have a pretty big year, and we'll see if Florida State bounces back at all from last year's disaster.
Can't be worse.
This could be a really interesting. Who else? Anybody else in the ACC to note about? Duke should be improved. I'm curious with Darian Mensah there. Should be better, but I'm high on Pitt. Pitt, they went 7-0, then they lost their last 6 games, but they were decimated by injuries in the second half. They bring all those guys back, plus the OC. Des Reed, remember the name, all-purpose back.
Really good player.
Don't sleep on Pitt. All right, Big Ten. My preseason number 1 of all the teams is the Penn State Nittany Lions.
Okay, Dave, Chris, why do you trust them to get this done?
Well, Our friend Ari Wasserman wrote a column a couple of years ago for The Athletic of why he was buying Texas. And he's like, I don't buy the excuse that they're never back or that Sark can't win more than 7 games. Like, you can't get over the hump until you finally do. And if you just look at your eyes, what you see with your eyes, this feels like the team that should get over the hump. They've got 2 of the best running backs in the country. They've added some receivers to help Drew Aller. Defense is loaded. The schedule helps. They get Oregon at home. They get Ohio State after a bye. The rest of the schedule is pretty simple. They will be heavily favored in all the other games. And so I'm going with them. They feel like the Michigan, Ohio State of the last couple of years, a bunch of guys who turned down the NFL to come back. And it works. This feels like the most talented team in the country, and they've got a good schedule to do it. James Franklin is 1-14 against top 5 teams?
I believe 15.
Something like that. But he almost never has the more talented team.
Yes.
Now you should say he doesn't overachieve and he should win some of those games, sure. But I think he may have the most talented team in every game they play this year. So that is ultimately that's why I'm going with Penn State. Maybe it's egg on my face for believing in them once again, but I don't know. I think
they have a bunch of high-end talent. I worry about, the other 15 positions on the field, compared to some of the teams in the Big Ten. We'll see. I am taking Oregon, a disrespected defending champ here. I think, again, the way that the season ended can do wonders for you when you went undefeated in the regular season and in the Big Ten title game. And this is still a really good team. I'm high on Dante Moore, obviously. And I think just from a program building perspective, what Dan Lanning has done there is really good. I think they're going to be really good on both sides of the ball. Explosive, physical. I think just there's not a lot of people talking about them. We'll kind of see how they come into their own. And Dante Moore is obviously a big risk. But give me the Ducks to get it done again.
My concern with Oregon, can they stretch the field with Evan Stewart out? Are they going to be able to go deep and kind of, because I love Mekhi Hughes, the running back from Tulane, Dylan Dingeman, the safety from Purdue. I think they added a lot of good dudes. So they should be right there again.
Elsewhere, do we know for a fact if Evan Stewart's out for the whole year? Have they officially?
I don't know if he's officially out for the whole year, but it does seem like it's not anytime soon. So.
Yeah, it seems like we don't know. But yeah, I think, I'm a big fan of Decorian Moore. I think they're going to be okay. They don't need to be scoring 50 points a game. I think the way that they've built this defense will allow them to have a game where, they can win it 24-20 and it'd be fine.
Neither of us picked Ohio State, the defending national champion, who named Julian Sayin, former Alabama commit, left when Saban left, as a starter. That seemed like the obvious fit. He's got maybe the best wide receiver group in the country, led by Jeremiah Smith, who should be an active NFL receiver right now, but instead has to play 2 more years against guys who are going to go and pro something other than sports. And that certainly helped. But man, Ohio State's always good. Our friend Cam Teague wrote a great story on The Athletic about why Ohio State never dips, ever, other than the one year when they lost half the team from Tattoo-Gate. They never have a down period. So I think they'll be good. I think they'll be right in the mix. I have them making the playoff. I just don't have them.
Can we make a promise to our listenership, Chris, right now, right here?
Yeah.
I'm going to sign a document and I will email it to all of our listeners. We will not engage in any of the should Jeremiah Smith sit out. Whenever people decide that that's enough college football for Jeremiah Smith, I'm just not going to engage in it. It's stupid. That's not how people work. So that is my promise to you as listeners.
Yes. Also, he's making a lot of money. So he doesn't have
to.
That's the big difference. Maurice Clarett was not making money, not making much money when he was at Ohio State. So that's a difference. Elsewhere in the Big Ten, I'm high on Michigan. I like the defense. I like the running game.
Not high on Michigan.
Wait. Not playoff high though, because I think they're not.
If you don't think Michigan can get to the playoff, I don't think you're high on Michigan.
Michigan. I mean, like 15-ish. Is that? I mean, they were 8-5 last year. I mean, I think they're going to be. I think they're going to be a bit better. Personally. I just don't know who Bryce Underwood's going to throw to. Essentially, who's going to really stand out? That's my problem. I think.
And also, are we sure that Bryce Underwood's just going to walk in and be a dude?
That too. We don't know.
Yeah,
we'll see. Oklahoma week 2. I'll be there. Yeah. Elsewhere, Illinois brings everything back. Could be a big year for Brett Bielema.
Yeah.
Indiana, Fernando Mendoza, people are super high on him. Iowa, can you take the step forward with Mark Gronowski, the San Diego State? I think the middle of the Big Ten is going to be a lot better than it was last year.
I would agree. I love Illinois. I just don't think has the top end talent to really compete for a title. But that's a team that if they can like sneak into the playoff, you probably don't want to see them if you're not a team that has like a top 10 roster because they're just going to bully you. I will say also, Chris, is this a resurgence for Lincoln Riley or is this a death spiral here?
I've seen some people who think USC is going to surprise and like get back. I don't see it. They're constantly trending downward.
Yes.
You lost the Branch brothers. Is Jaden Maiyava the guy? Like, I don't know. I'm not super high on them. Washington.
If we want a sleeper to like win 9 games and be in the playoff conversation in November, I think Washington might be that team.
Yes. All right. Big 12. I am going with the defending champions, the Arizona State Sun Devils, who I am super high on. I have them preseason number 8 in the country.
I'm not very high on them.
For me. I love Sam Levitt. He's back for his second year as a starter. Jordan Tyson, his top receiver, is back. The defense brings everything back. They should take a step forward on defense. They do lose Cam Scatterbo, who was a lot, but they did add Kanye Udo, the running back from Army. And I think the biggest reason I might be worried about Arizona State is they won a ton of close games last year.
Yes, we'll get into this in a second. I'm not.
Is that repeatable? I don't think that's repeatable, but I also just think they're better. So you may just not be in as many close games. However, the Big 12 is loaded. What's your pick?
Really good year. Real quick on Arizona State, I did not take them. I just think it's a math problem. The gap between 1 and 6 in the Big 12 is minuscule, and it's going to be decided by health and stupid stuff that happens on Saturdays. I'm taking Utah. Ultimately, I think the defense is going to be fine. I think they've modernized the offense. Bringing over, Jason Beck and Devin Dampier is huge. Modernizing the offense, playing behind one of the top 3 offensive lines in the country. I just think the math is there. I mean, the formula is there for Utah to make some noise this year and win the league. And I would have, I probably might have taken BYU if they hadn't lost Jake Retzlaff. But it really is going to be a very fun year in the Big 12. You could talk me into 10 or 11 teams in that league. But I'm taking Utah as my champion. I agree with you. I think Arizona State is good, but just you're putting a bunch of teams that are pretty equal in a battle royale, and just the idea that you're going to get the same result twice when you have 8 or 9 contenders, I just don't think so. And especially considering that now Arizona State for the first time, I don't know, 2 decades has an actual target on their back. That's a playoff team. They got out of here last year. I think there's an added like juice to beating that team that's not there. That's not that they can't answer the bell and do that, but I just think you're asking a lot in a league where a bunch of teams can beat you, and there's not really, a lot of easy wins, and there might not be hardly any. I'm looking around at Houston, and we'll see what UCF is, and I'm kind of, BYU, I have some questions about. I'm looking a little side eye, but this is or Oklahoma State as well. But this is a team that, man, like, this is a league that's gonna be really fun.
It is going to be really fun. Nobody in that league is bad, I don't think. But all the way, BYU named Bear Bachmeier the starting quarterback to replace Jake Retzlaff. He's a true freshman.
Yes.
Who was not there in spring, by the way. He was at Stanford.
Yes. Rocking the number 47 at the quarterback spot. We've seen some 20s. We've seen Zach Wilson rocking the 0 in the NFL. I hate that. I don't like the 20s, but I can deal with it.
None of it's as bad as Devin Gardner wearing, I think it was 98 for Tom Harmon back in like 2012,
47,
2013.
Though, is wild. And I will say, so my thought was, well, I don't know why he's wearing that. It's probably some interesting reason. Like the Devin Brown thing, I hated the Devin Brown wearing 33, but it's like a family thing. And it's like, as much as I hate it, it's like, all right, I'll let you do it. He just used to play running back, and then he stuck with it. Now, I've heard some other reasons why he might wear the number. Apparently, those are not true. But ultimately, we can't have – can somebody – but we got 10 days before they play. Can somebody step in and say, son, here's number 10. Please don't make America watch this. Because I'm ready for it. And I know it's going to cause a reflexive reaction in my body that I worry for myself and my own personal health and the health of millions of Americans. If we've got to watch a guy wearing 47 running around throwing the ball, stop this, BYU. Don't let this happen for the good of America.
And the other question, Big 12, Texas Tech, all that money, do they get to the Big 12 championship for the first time ever? We will see. Moving on to the SEC. I've got the Texas Longhorns. I don't feel great about it because I have to pick somebody. I don't feel great. I don't feel like great about anybody in the SEC. Like there's nobody I'm like, oh, they're like loaded. This is the team that's got everything back, because I think Arch Manning's going to be fine. That's not my problem. My concern is the offensive line replacing that they have to, really both lines that Texas has to replace, and some of the back end as well. So like it's a lot. You got to go to Ohio State week 1, schedule the SEC. I'm going Texas. I don't feel great about it. Who's your pick?
So, you talked about Texas Tech in the last segment. Everybody's making a big deal about Texas Tech's transfer class, and it's good. It's a separator for them and the rest of the league. But they were number 2. Do you know who number 1 was, Chris? It's my title pick, and that is LSU. Ultimately, this is a team I like the experience at quarterback. I'm a huge Garrett Nussmeier fan. I think the things that he struggled with last year, mostly decision-making, that you can coach out of guys. Accuracy, I don't think you can coach out of.
No.
But he was really good, and he could process really well, but there'd be like 1 to 3, sometimes 2 to 4 or 5 plays a game where you're like, what are you doing? What did you see that made you think that was a good idea? I think you can coach that out of people, and I also think they're good enough that they can make up for it. But I think too, Chris, underrated storyline coming into this year that not that many people are talking about is this might be a year where there may not be a truly elite team in the SEC. We kind of saw it last year, but like the Vegas over-unders, there's not a single SEC team that's over 9.5. I think it's going to be just blood sport in that league. It goes back to, NIL and transfers and Alabama and Georgia not being able to stockpile the same kind of talent they've been able to. The depth is not there. And there's a bunch of teams at the top that can compete. Obviously, Texas, preseason number 1. I think a lot of that is built around Arch Manning hype.
If Arch Manning was not named Arch Manning, I don't think Texas would be number 1.
I don't think so either. I think Texas is going to be really good. I think they're a playoff team, but I don't think you're going to have, again, a team in the SEC or even 2 teams in the SEC that you're looking up at and you're like, man, that's going to be a team. Like, I don't know how somebody's going to beat them. I don't think there's any team in the country that looks like that. And so I think we're going to have a really, I don't want to say average, but just not as good at the top of the SEC because we're used to seeing these Alabama, Georgia behemoths that don't exist anymore. And I look forward to the SEC trying to talk the world into just being convinced that no other team in any other league can compete with these teams when they have like 4 teams at 9-3 at the end of the season.
Yeah, very, very curious what that new college football playoff strength of schedule metric looks like, what the strength of record looks like. Can't really speak much on it because we haven't seen it. We don't know how it goes into play. But
I think the way that it's going to work is basically they'll put a map up, and if you're in the South, you get some additional points for strength of schedule. And then if you're in a G5 league, then you just get erased. They pull the logo off and they set it on fire. I think that's basically how the strength of record is going to work. So I'm looking forward to
Here's the thing, though. Strength of record favors teams that win a lot of games. Indiana and Boise State were top 10 in strength of record. I think it's possible, and I'm kind of predicting that all the whining about strength of schedule is actually going to backfire, because if we have strength of record now, all the teams that are good are going to be really close. So it's like you won't see it.
Strength of schedule in general is fake because we don't have enough crossover in these leagues. It's pointless metric anyway. We don't have time to derail this on the playoff.
Rest of the SEC, Alabama. I kind of buy the idea that Ty Simpson might be a better fit for this offense than Jalen Milroe.
We're too far in his career. Like, if it's gonna happen, we would have heard more. And we would have been like, oh, like he's pushing Jalen Milroe, or like this offseason you'd hear some stuff like, no. I think he's going to be okay. I think there's going to be some moments this year where people are like, where's Keelan Russell? Can we see Keelan Russell? How's Keelan Russell doing? I think we're going to see a lot of that. I just think at this point in your career, we would have seen or heard more. And I have not heard the greatest things about Ty Simpson. I agree he's a better fit. I'm just not a believer in the talent overall.
I also need to wait and see Kalen DeBoer not have a couple of duds in a game. He's a great coach, great record, but he always has a couple of duds, and those are the games they lost last year. Georgia, part of me is like, are we sleeping on Georgia because nobody's talking about Georgia?
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
But then part of me is like, I kind of have concerns at all three levels about this team, like not in terms of like national championship type of stuff. So I kind of got to see more of them before I kind of get an opinion.
I still think Georgia's like the one team in the country that if you're lined up across from them, you really don't want to see them. You just know you're going to be sore at the end of the day. They're going to be a problem. They're going to be well coached. But it's the offensive explosiveness. I'm not big on Gunnar Stockton. I don't think this is a Georgia team that's going to just blow teams away like we've seen in the past.
No.
I don't know if they're going to have that capability.
And the defense has not been at the level it was either.
Yes, and so if you have a bad day or you're just dragging teams into rock fights all day where you're playing 21-17, it's a little bit like the Notre Dame game. You're a couple bad plays away from stuff changing in a hurry. So yeah. I still think Georgia's probably like the best team, maybe just behind Clemson, but I just think they're not. I don't know. They don't excite me. I'm not high on them coming into the season to do big things for a lot of the reasons that we've laid out.
The Oklahoma Sooners, I love everything they did on paper. I like Mateer. I mostly like Mateer. I love Ben Arbuckle, the OC. I love Jaden Out, the running back. They're my team in college football 26. I was going on a run with them last night. Brent Venables has fixed that defense. They'll be fine. They won't have their top 5 wide receiver out all season. So it's there, but I got to see it. And the schedule is so hard. They play almost every top team in the SEC. You got Michigan week 2 again. New AD coming in, bit of a hot seat situation. Although his contract gives him a huge buyout. I'm high floor, kind of low ceiling on Oklahoma. I could see it going a lot of different ways. South Carolina, you're not as big of a Lenora Sellers guy as compared to everybody else. They got to replace a little bit on the defense. Ole Miss replaces pretty much everybody. But you got the other quarterback there who everybody really likes. Tennessee, I'm not a Joey Aguilar guy. You think they can plug and play a quarterback?
Sort of, but the defense lost them. I just think Tennessee, super high floor, super low ceiling, like 6 to 8 wins for me. I think if you're looking for sleepers in this league, Texas A&M to win the league jumps out to me as somebody who nobody's really talking about. They're as good on the lines as just about anybody. A bunch of talent around Marcel Reed, an older Marcel Reed, and probably not a team that's going to win the league, but if they won 9 or 10 games, I wouldn't be that shocked. Auburn. They improved a lot, and they have a quarterback for the first time. And I think you're adding Eric Singleton to Cam Coleman. You bring in Jackson Arnold to have some pieces around him. I know there's not a lot of people talking about them coming into the season as well, but Auburn is a team that I'm like, I kind of see it.
Not only that, they might play 3 quarterbacks in the first game and have a different play caller for first, second, and third down, according to Hugh Freeze. How do you prepare for that?
Hugh Freeze trolling people. I don't know what he's doing. They got to beat Baylor first. That's a tough game, especially.
I will be there week 1, Friday night game. Baylor Auburn. One of the week 1 is loaded. We'll get into that next week. Sneaky loaded week. That's a sneaky, really good game. That's going to set the tone for a lot. If that happens. So Auburn, I could buy it. They got to see what happens with Baylor first. So
yeah, I don't think I can talk about my week 1 plans yet, Chris, but we'll talk about it when it's happening.
We'll talk about next week for sure. Once that's set and all good. All right, now we go to the American. Don't call us the Athletic Conference. I've got Tulane, who was in the championship game last year but lost to Army. Who's your pick?
I also have Tulane, physical team. Adding Jake Retzlaff probably lifts their ceiling a little bit because that was kind of one of the bigger questions for them. I think Tulane is good. Again, line play. John Summerall, spent some time with him actually at American Media Days, and we were talking about his strategy for where they spend and how they're using the money. And he's like, I'm probably more biased toward the big guys compared to a lot of coaches in terms of where I spend my money. It shows up. Tulane wins this league because they're the most physical team on the line of scrimmage.
Their non-conference schedule: Northwestern at home,
winnable.
South Alabama on the road, then Duke at home, That is Darian Mensah coming back after
Yeah.
leaving, and then they got a trip to Ole Miss. So pretty tough non-conference schedule, but the defense will be really good. I do have some questions about the offense because of what they lost. If not Tulane, keep an eye on Navy. Blake Horvath, really good quarterback for that offense. That schedule for them, I might be surprised if they're not 8-0 heading into Notre Dame. They have a very favorable front half of that schedule. They got a lot coming back. Keep an eye on Navy. I think North Texas could be a team in for a big jump. They brought their coordinator over from Sam Houston, who did a really good job.
Yeah.
And we know they can put up a lot of points.
Not a lot of hype for Memphis, by the way, Chris. Why is nobody up? Is it just that they lost Hennigan? Like, it feels like nobody's talking Memphis.
They lost quite a bit. There's not as much experienced star power there like they had the last couple of years. And Brendan Lewis, is he the guy? I mean, he's the quarterback, but is he the guy's going to kind of take you there? I don't know. USF, your breakout candidate.
Yeah,
Byron
I'm waiting
Brown,
for USF to pop. I see all the pieces there. Byron Brown, the health issue, I think will be better for him this year. USF's a team that they're definitely number one on my dark horse there. That if they win the league, I'd be like, finally, it's about time, guys. So
yeah, Conference USA, gonna go Liberty. Probably gonna go Liberty in perpetuity.
It's just the gap between talent and resources is too wide there. It's a weird spot Liberty finds themselves in. It's a bit like if you dropped, I don't know, if you dropped like Texas into the Big 12 again in the current Big 12. It's
maybe Oklahoma. Texas didn't win the Big 12 all that much. Maybe Oklahoma.
I know, but I'm talking about that's not a great example. But yeah, it's one of those situations where it's just going to be tough for anybody to keep up with them. Anyway,
I went to Conference USA Media Days. Jamie Chadwell really likes. I know every coach says this, but he feels like the team is much more of a team compared to last year's team, which was kind of a bit scattershot coming off of the Fiesta Bowl situation.
Yeah.
Western Kentucky, keep an eye on them.
Yep.
We're going to talk about them, by the way, in week 0. I'll hold off Western Kentucky till we get to the week 0 picks, but they got a big week 1 game. I think Delaware and Missouri State might do better than people expect for teams moving up from FCS. 2 good winning programs there, and we will see. So it's Conference USA. The MAC. I'm going with Toledo. Kind of similar to Liberty. They are the most resourced and typically the most talented team in this conference. Tucker Gleason, the quarterback, is back. Really good player. I think there's just a lot of there's so much change elsewhere in the MAC that this feels like the steadiest team, and that's why they're my pick.
Yeah, which 8-4 team is going to win the MAC? I'm going to go with Ohio here. I'm in the Bobcats structural alignment. I'm into it. That tough non-conference, if they can survive that, they got Rutgers, West Virginia, at Ohio State. If you can just get out of that healthy and sort of hit reset and rally late, you could probably have some good things happen to you.
You got Parker Navarro, the quarterback there, who Timothy Chalamet loves, as we know.
Got to.
And the running back, Bangura, he transferred out to Minnesota last year, spent a year there, and transferred back in to Ohio. So that's
a nice called an endorsement of culture, is what that's called.
New coach here, by the way, Brian Smith taking over for Tim Albin, who went to Charlotte. The OC got promoted, and they kept most of the guys, so there's not as much of a roster turnover there. Name to watch: DeQuan Finn, former MAC Player of the Year at Toledo.
He's back, baby. He's back.
Went to Baylor. Got beat out by Sora Robertson, is now at Miami of Ohio. So keep an eye on that. The Mountain West, Boise State has been picked to win this thing every single year. They don't do it every year, but they are my pick as well.
Yeah, I'm sticking with Boise. I would like to pick somebody else. I'd like to get fancy. Boise's got the best team. I'm a believer in Spencer Danielson too. Chris, we both spent some time with him this offseason, and it's not hard to see why it worked and why when they got rid of Andy Avalos that things kind of picked up. And I don't think that machine is slowing down anytime soon, even without Ashton Genty. Big fan of Maddox Madsen.
I'm a fan. Some people don't love the high level, his ceiling, which is fine, but dude makes plays. He makes a lot more plays than I think people realize. He's my preseason offensive player of the year. They also got Jalen Virgin Morgan, the defensive end, defensive player of the year. And name to watch. Yes, Boise State does not have Ashton Genty anymore, but remember the name Sire Gaines. I've been talking about this dude all off season. He's a true freshman last year, had a huge game in the opener, played well early, got hurt, and missed the rest of the year. They got him. They got Malik Sherrod, the running back from Fresno State that came in. Boise State always has running backs. They are they might be running back you, if we're being honest, if you think about all
It's
the guys
crazy.
who have come through there. They will be fine, I think, replacing Ashton Genty. Elsewhere in that league, I've got UNLV second, but so many questions with new team, new everything. Dan Mullen's there, Alex Orgy's there, Anthony.
I'm very
Calandria, the
skeptical of
quarterback from
UNLV. I
Kansas.
want to believe, but if it was like a 6-6, 7-5 thing, I wouldn't be like floored.
Which is good for UNLV, by the way. But like before these last 2 years,
but Barry Odom, Barry Odom and Brennan Marion raised the bar there. It's different.
Correct.
It's different now.
Team, I'm keeping an eye on San Jose State.
Yep,
They've
I
got
almost picked them.
They've got the quarterback Eget, who's back. The OC Craig Stutzman's back. They were the number 5 passing offense in the country last year. They don't have Nick Nash, the receiver, but they're going to have a good passing offense again. And they avoid Boise State and UNLV on the regular season schedule.
That's a big deal.
So keep an eye out for the Spartans. The Sun Belt. I'm going with James Madison finally winning this league after 2 years of right there being in the mix. But it's a really interesting league top to bottom. I think a few teams could win this, but I think UNLV, they survived the turnover of last year, losing Kurt Signetti and a bunch of players, and they still won like 9 games and put 70-something on North Carolina. They'll be fine. You know who's there now, by the way? Matthew Sluka.
I do know who's there.
Matthew Sluka, the UNLV quarterback who left over NIL. It might be him or Alonzo Barrett, who was a starter last year to do that. Sluka played for JMU coach Bob Chesney at Holy Cross. That's that connection. I think they're still rolling at JMU. That's my pick.
It's a good pick. I am going to lean Louisiana here. You might have missed Walker Howard, named starter at Louisiana this week, and guy that's been
former
Ole Miss, LSU. He's been around. Big time talent, high 4-star guy. He just hasn't had a lot of opportunities to play. He's been behind really good players. And Louisiana, proud program, kind of broke through a little bit last year. After, obviously Billy Napier left a few years ago, Michael DeSormo stepped up there. So I like them to break through this year.
Team to watch, Southern Miss, which took the coach and players from last year's Sun Belt Championship team. Marshall.
Yes.
Charles Huff, the coach, they just were not connecting there. Charles Huff, the coach in the school, despite winning the Sun Belt. He goes to Southern Miss, which was the bottom team in the conference, and brings a bunch of players, including his quarterback, Braylon Braxton. So Southern Miss could be a team in for a big jump. So those are the conference
Texas
picks.
State here.
Yeah, I was talking to someone at Texas State the other day. I wasn't so sure because of the quarterback situation. It's kind of an unknown as opposed to the last couple of years. But I talked to someone just yesterday who said G.J. Kinney feels really good about this team. So perhaps Texas State gets in that mix finally. All right, those are our conference picks. Let's do our final 4 in the semifinals of the playoffs. I've got Penn State, Clemson, Texas, Ohio State. What do you got?
I'm taking Clemson, LSU, Texas, and Oregon.
So you got 2 SEC teams in there. National championship, I go Penn State over Clemson. I've already laid out why I really like both these teams, the experience, the quarterbacks. 2 teams people aren't maybe not necessarily trending in a great direction, but I like both of them, Penn State over Clemson. What about you?
Week 1 rematch, Clemson over LSU in the national championship. Dabo gets number 3.
We will hold your pick of that week 1 game until next week. But that's so we're both really high on Clemson, and I'm kind of concerned about that. I think that's.
I mean, but like Chris, where are they going to lose games? Like you can be tentative, but like they're going to coast into the playoff. I think they're going to coast into an ACC title, and then it's like, well, we'll see what LSU is if you win that game week 1, and then it's like, okay, well, how validating is that win? How good is LSU? We'll see. As the season plays on, obviously I'm high on them this year if they win that game. But like even if they lose that game, they're still going to be probably a top 8 seed, top 6 seed probably. So like there's just not a lot of teams that are even capable of beating this team in the ACC this year.
Yeah. All right, let's go to our Heisman picks.
Hello, Heisman.
I'm going to go with Cade Klubnik, the quarterback at Clemson. I think he's going to have a lot of opportunities. I think they beat LSU week 1, so he kind of gets on the radar, has a big year. The receivers are there. The offensive line's there. Quarterbacks usually win this thing unless somebody is kind of out of their mind. I've got them as a top 2 team, really good quarterback and a top 2 team that's usually going to do the job. He was my pick in our Heisman draft we did as a staff. I had the number 1 pick. I picked him. Sticking to it.
Chris, I think people forget that when you play college football for the first year, you're still trying to kind of figure it out, and you're going to get a lot better in year 2. And I think some of the coverages that people were throwing at Jeremiah Smith last year, he had some quiet moments. But ultimately, as you learn more about the X's and O's of football, as the team, in Ohio State figures out, okay, this is what we can kind of expect from defenses and how we can still use Jeremiah Smith and not have him have to be a decoy. I think we're going to have a huge year from him. I think he's most importantly, like the Heisman is a lot about perception. I think with a new quarterback, he's probably going to get a lot of the credit for whatever happens in the Ohio State passing offense. So even doesn't have like the craziest numbers. Well, I think there's a lot of people that are like, well, but he's drawing 2 and 3 defenders on every single play. So here's why Sayan had this guy wide open. And I think that will make an impact on voters. So numbers aside, I think he will put up, 1,300, 1,400 yards, double-digit touchdowns. Jeremiah Smith wins the Heisman. Just because when's the last time we walked into a season, Chris, and there was basically zero debate about who the best player in the country is? It's been a while.
I mean, Caleb Williams, coming off a Heisman, coming back. I think I feel like we agreed on Travis Hunter being the best player. I don't know. My concern with Jeremiah Smith is just the guy who's throwing to him.
That's my concern too.
And the other guys, like the last receiver doing the Heisman was Devontae Smith, who had a ridiculous year in 2000. It was kind of a weird COVID year too.
Yeah.
But Mac Jones was also up there for the Heisman Trophy. That Alabama team, one of the best ever. Before that, we hadn't had a receiver win in quite a while. So it's tough for a receiver. He does come in with the name recognition, though. That's important. If they're undefeated number 1, there will be people who simply vote for the best player on the best team. So
yes,
he might be.
They're called terrible Heisman voters, and they shouldn't have votes. But yeah,
he's probably the safest, top 5 pick to finish in the top 5 of the Heisman. Winning it, I don't know. So we will see. We'll track that obviously as the season goes along. And with that, we are going to get into our week 0. It's time to make picks. It's time to talk about games.
Let's do it.
It's time to play the game.
It's time to play the game. Time to play the game.
That's right. I know David doesn't know what that is. That is the intro for Triple H, the game, WWE legend. My favorite intro, my favorite theme song for a wrestler. Motorhead song. Please don't sue us, Motorhead. It was only 12 seconds. We got games to talk about,
guys.
We got games to talk about here. Week 0, the big one in Ireland. We're going to talk about this with Conall later. Kansas State versus Iowa State. Kansas State, a 3-point favorite. Dave, I'll let you go first here.
Explosiveness. K-State's got some of it. They added a couple receivers this year. They needed that. The receiver group was not great for Avery Johnson last year. I'm going with Kansas State. I think these are 2 defenses that are pretty equal. I like Rocco Becht, but ultimately, he's missing 2 receivers that are going to be tough to replace. Kansas State added a couple in the portal. Give me the Wildcats to get it done in Farmageddon. Weird to start with I guess we did it last year, but weird to start with a conference game in the Big 12, which I don't remember the Big 12 starting a conference game in week 1, maybe ever. So it'll be weird.
Do you think they covered the 3?
Yes. Give me K-State and the points, or be K-State minus the points. Excuse me.
My concern with Kansas State, the offensive line, they kind of have to rebuild that group. But Avery Johnson does have playmakers around him. Can Avery avoid the kind of dumb turnovers in a couple of plays he had last year in his second year as a starter? Iowa State, meanwhile, you need a whole new crop of receivers. I love Rocco Becht, the quarterback, but who's he going to throw to? A little bit of a concern there.
I'm not that high on Iowa State this year. Avery Johnson, healthy and very fast.
I'm going to go Kansas State as well, and I do think that they cover. Iowa State, they got some dudes on defense, I think, but I don't know if they have the depth. The schedule's a lot harder this year than it was last year as well overall. I'll go Kansas State. Second game between FBS teams. Kansas opening up the new Booth Stadium, returning to campus. Looks beautiful. against Fresno State, which is led by new coach Matt Entz, who came from USC, was previously the head coach at North Dakota State, won some national championships. They've got EJ Warner, Kurt's son, as the quarterback, formerly at Temple and Rice. Kansas has Jalen Daniels back. What's your pick?
I am going to go with Fresno here to keep it close. Kansas stumbling out of the blocks last year. It feels like they kind of figured some stuff out in the back half of the season, but I'm not a big believer in that stuff necessarily carrying over. I think Fresno's really good. I think Matt Entz will have a good defensive game plan to slow them down a little bit. So I think Kansas wins this game, but that's a lot of points for a pretty proud program. Give me Fresno with the plus 12.5.
It's interesting. Jalen Daniels missed spring, and he has a bunch of new wide receivers. And technically, they have a new offensive coordinator in Jim Zabrowski, although he was there previously already and kind of called a lot of it anyway. I think he's an upgraded offensive coordinator, too, from Jeff Grimes, who left for Wisconsin. The week one games where the team has a new head coach and like a new team are so hard to predict. Like, I don't know what I'm getting from this team. Like, I like the idea of what Fresno State has. I like EJ Warner. I like Matt Entz as a coach. Going on the road to a team that finished last year with momentum. Also, Kansas, by the way, like Kansas
on the road, Chris. Come on now.
What?
They're not going to Columbus.
They're opening the new stadium. Like, it's going to be a lot of energy there, I do think, at Kansas. And
We'll
also,
see.
by the way, like
we'll see.
Kansas lost a ton of close games last year, and I think that's why you saw them do what they did at the end of the season, because they weren't as bad as maybe we thought they were. You know, the UNLV and stuff like that. I'm gonna go Kansas, and I'm gonna go with the points, but I don't feel great about it just because of the mystery of a new head coach. Speaking of new head coach, Stanford is going to the islands, going to Hawaii.
The newest head coach, right?
Under new coach Frank Reich, interim head coach. Hawaii is a 2.5-point favorite here, I believe.
I feel like it's been a while since Hawaii's been a favorite against a P4 team.
They had that Vanderbilt game a couple years ago. I don't remember if they were favored or not, but they got destroyed.
Didn't they lose that game by like 50 points though?
They got destroyed. By the way, this game,
shout out.
This game, by the way, not super late. It's not going to be one of those late. It's going to be on CBS, 6:30 Central, 7:30 Eastern.
Big CBS. Wow.
Looks like
in
Paramount Plus. By the way, Iowa State, Kansas State, noon on ESPN. Your next game will be Fresno. You'll have a game at 3. Then Kansas Fresno's at 6:30 on Fox. Then this game a little bit later on CBS.
I will say real quickly, not to derail the pod, that Kansas State Iowa State game is in a exclusive time slot. Everybody is going to be watching that game. It's the first game of the year, and when you have a game in an exclusive window, it leads itself to take quakes. But think about the biggest take quakes from these Ireland games. Scott Frost loses an insane game to
Northwestern.
No, it was Northwestern. Illinois bullied somebody. Am I right? Am I forgetting this? This was like 3 years ago.
No, Notre Dame beat up Navy.
Well, I'm not talking about the game. No, I'm talking about the games where there was like real takes coming out of it. And then last year, obviously Florida State. What we've seen in Ireland has generally not been a mirage. Like generally when you've seen something that causes a strong reaction to you, it has not been an overreaction. So something to think about.
That's true. That game. Coming back to Stanford, Hawaii is indeed a 2.5-point favorite. I like the quarterback. They got the Mika Elehado, I think. They like him. He's a local kid. He'll need to kind of carry that offense because they're replacing a lot. Stanford is, admittedly a mess. But man, like
athletes,
this feels I can see people putting the money in Hawaii. I'm going to go Stanford straight up. I think I still think, I don't know. Stanford, they won 3 games last year, 2 of them on a last-second field goal against FBS teams. So, like, they were not good last year either. But, look, if they lose this game, then you're looking at maybe like a 1-11, 0-12 type of season. I'll hold off on that because Hawaii has not really turned it around under Timmy Chang.
I know.
Like,
I want to believe in Timmy Chang, the brotherhood hashtag, one of the great hashtags going in college football. I need to see something more. Like,
yeah,
other than like the Shagger bombs, we haven't really seen like anything from them that's been like, oh. So I'm out on Hawaii. Give me Stanford.
Yeah, so we'll both go Stanford, the underdog there. Big Conference USA game, week 1.
Big
week
game.
0.
Great game. I think this might be the second best game of the weekend.
Yeah, Western Kentucky 10.5-point favorite against Sam Houston. Sam Houston lost everything off of last year's team. Western Kentucky is bringing in Sam Houston, by the way, won 10 games last year. Second year as an FBS program. Great job, but they lost Casey Keeler, the coach, to Temple. They lost the DC to North Texas. Lot going on there. Western Kentucky 10.5-point favorite. They've brought in the Abilene Christian offense from FCS, quarterback Maverick McIver, who we've talked about on this show, along with his offense coordinator Rick Bowie. This usually works for Western Kentucky. If not Liberty, Western Kentucky is my pick to win Conference USA. It's a lot of points for week 1. But this game this game is at Western Kentucky. I had it backwards on the notes. It's at Western Kentucky. For a team that kind of sputtered here and there, I'm going to say Western Kentucky. I think Sam Houston keeps it close than 10.5.
Yeah, I'm going with Sam Houston to keep it close, physical, and I think too, it's going to be defensive early on, especially when you got new quarterbacks, new pieces coming in. I don't think it's rarely ever smooth. Sam Houston can muck it up. I give me the Bearcats.
Coach there, by the way, Phil Longo, the new head coach at Sam Houston. Last game, UNLV 24.5-point favorite against Idaho State, a team that went 5-7 in FCS last year.
Chris,
head coach.
Do you know who Idaho State's head coach is?
I literally just looked this up as you were saying that. It's Cody Hawkins.
Yeah,
the former Colorado quarterback, son of Dan Hawkins. Remember some guys? Cody Hawkins,
brother.
He was previously the OC at UC Davis.
Under his dad.
I think that's under his dad, who did a good job there, by the way.
Yeah, he did a good job.
UNLV breaking in new everything. How do we think this is going to go?
Athletes, Idaho State, not exactly the proudest program in the Big Sky. I think this is plenty. Dan Mullen's going to scheme up some stuff. Alex Orji, say what you want. Kid's an athlete. I don't know how many Idaho State guys are going to be able to tackle him. We'll see how they use Orji and Calandria. But I like Dan Mullen to get it done here and put up a big number. I think they're going to give up some points too, but I think they get the job done here.
It's a lot of points for a team breaking in a brand new everything.
Is it
24.5?
Chris, if you're going to be a team that is going to be competent and good in UNLV, you can maul this team up front, and it's just going to be a long day for them in the trenches, and they just aren't going to be able to stop you from running. Athletes,
UNLV,
Chris, athletes.
UNLV, outside of 2 years with Barry Odom, maybe the worst team in FBS. You know, you've lost the offense. I did pick them to finish second. I just have so many questions that I don't feel comfortable enough to give them 25 points.
Well, whatever the questions you have are, Chris, I don't think Idaho State has any of the answers. So
I'm gonna go Idaho State. I'll say Idaho State covers.
Okay.
Not necessarily close, but that is that. So that is week 0, by the way. I'm looking forward to relaxing. We are going to talk about those games. Do you think we can go live late? Do we want to go live on YouTube later?
I think we should. I think so. I think we can do it.
Keep an eye on the Bunch Formation YouTube channel. Bunch Formation YouTube channel. We're going to try to go live. Absolutely leaving it in. We'll try to go live late Saturday. That's why I had it in my head, because the game is on Saturday. Probably maybe late or even during Stanford, Hawaii, to kind of talk about the game.
Depending on how it goes.
We'll probably put that up maybe either on the feeds on Sunday morning as well, or something like that. So make sure you're following the YouTube channel where you can see our beautiful faces. So that'll do it for game previews. Now we're going to bring in Conall Diggin from Pro Football Ireland. We met Conall in the media lounge of the lounge of the media hotel at the national championship game last year. And I remember thinking, he had come to the United States to cover the game. I was like, Irish guy, we got to talk to him before the Ireland game. So Conall was gracious enough to take some time to talk with me about what the state of college football is in Ireland, football in
Mhm.
general. Could a Super Bowl go to London? And also just kind of what it's like for him covering American football there. So let's go to the interview. Now I'm happy to welcome to the show, straight from Ireland, Conall Diggin. Conall, good to see you again, and welcome to the bunch. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks very much. I'm very happy to be here. What is it? Long time listener, first time caller, I suppose.
Yeah, so we ran into Colin in the media lounge at the hotel in Atlanta, talked for a while, and realized, hey, we'd love to have you on the show when the Ireland game comes around. Then that show got canceled, but we started up this new one, and Conall has been gracious enough to join us to talk here about college football in Ireland and kind of what that deal is. First, Conall, just kind of tell people what you do and your background.
Yeah, so I'm Conall, obviously. I work for Pro Football Ireland. I'm one of two college football analysts that we have. We've been covering it for this would be my third year now. So I've covered the last three games. So I started off with Notre Dame Navy, last year's Georgia Tech, Florida State, and then going into this year as well. I also, me and my colleague Dara, we also do the draft coverage as well as weekly podcasts for the college football games. And we've been doing this. Me and Dara, we're both, we're only 21 each of us, so we've gone from what would be our first year in college, so our freshman year in college, all the way now until our senior season. So if there's anyone who's exiting college after this season, we've followed them the entire way along, which is only something I really thought about now, but like it is kind of a cool thing that we've gotten to do this at our age. But yeah, so we've been doing this. We've gotten some amazing opportunities to obviously talk to some amazing people doing this, and I think most importantly for us was growing the game of not only American football, but introducing more people to college football, because we, in a way, we kick off the season for the last 4 or 5 years now, which is something that I think we take a lot of pride in as well. And I think every year it has grown and built on itself. And, we have it for another 2 years after this as well. So at least we have more to look forward to.
We never did talk after the championship game in Atlanta. What someone from Ireland coming to America, what were your impressions of the city of Atlanta?
It was there was a snowstorm the day I left, which was not something I banked on happening. But I remember checking the week before, and I said, okay, maybe I should pack a jacket, and it was very much needed on that last day. But then, I mean, yeah, American cities are now. I went to Chicago for the draft, or Chicago and then Green Bay for the draft a few months later. And Chicago was a much different experience than Atlanta, but Atlanta was very much like, at least in the downtown, I was there at 1 o'clock in the day at one point, and there was just no one around. And that's something I've never experienced in my entire life. Like, even if I was somewhere in Ireland or in Europe, if I was in a town at like 4 a.m. in the morning, there was a very high chance I would see someone. But yeah, in downtown Atlanta, maybe more of a business place, everyone was probably still at work, but there was certainly like a lot of really great stuff there. The stadium is basically the best stadium I've ever seen in my entire life. The College Football Hall of Fame, I got the chance to visit there. It just kind of worked out that it was in Atlanta, which was not something I knew before doing my research. And I had spent, I think, maybe like 2.5 hours there, just like looking at anything I could get my hands on. So like, yeah, I really enjoyed it. We're hoping to go to the national championship in Miami. And then
Nice.
Me and Dara are also going to Alabama for Alabama and Tennessee in October. So we have that booked in. So that's something that'll be an experience, I think, is probably the best way to describe that one.
That is going to be awesome. So have you ever been to a college game on a college campus, or just the
I've just been to what was it? Northwestern against Nebraska, which, to be fair, was a very good game. We were sat in a section with a lot of Nebraska fans, and I remember I think his name was Scott. He was from Nebraska. He'd come with his wife, and he sat down next to me and my friend. This was our first ever game of any sort of American football. And we're sitting down, we're right behind the goalpost, and this guy, Scott, no joke, anytime Northwestern had the ball, he's screaming just an oh like the entire time. And he goes, are y'all don't scream and shout here? Y'all we're like, no, we just scream when big things happen. And I remember my right ear for like the next 2 days was just ringing because Scott was shouting in my ear. But yeah, that would be my first experience like of an actual on campus. I visited David Shanahan, the Irish player at Georgia Tech, when I was in Atlanta. And just the campuses, at least there at Georgia Tech, were much different to the ones over here in Ireland as well. So yeah, we're looking forward to getting to Tuscaloosa in a few months.
That is awesome. Let us know how that goes. I would love to kind of get your thoughts after the fact. So college football in Ireland, it's now been 3, 4, 5 years of doing this. What would you say is kind of the state of college football there? How much of an awareness is there of it?
Yeah, I think for a lot of people there is. I mean, I haven't been to Dublin in a few months, but I know like from people who are there that, there's signs. And one of but Dara, he was in Belfast today, one of the other big cities. It's only an hour away from Dublin. And he said there was a load of people in Kansas State gear visiting for the day. I was in Galway a few weeks ago, and they've had big posters up and big banners just in some of the big areas there, promoting the game. I think there's 25,000 people coming over from Kansas State and Iowa, which is less than what there was. I think Notre Dame, there was like 40 something thousand just Notre Dame fans came to visit, which, to be fair, I think is to be expected, just if you have a much bigger brand. But, if you can get 24,000 people from Kansas and Iowa to fly all the way to Ireland, I think that's already, a big enough victory. But over here, like, the game continues to grow. Obviously we're getting the NFL game, and I don't think an NFL game happens if it's not for a college game in Ireland. It's in a different stadium, but there's going to be, I think, a lot of the same safeguarding measures, just things that have happened over the years, that they know at least what they're dealing with on a certain scale. Obviously, in Crow Park, where the NFL game is going to be, there's like 30,000 more seats, but it is very much something that is appreciated here, at least definitely from NFL fans. And I know from talking to people about it, they're like, well, what's the difference? And then every time they learn the difference, they're like, that kind of sounds a lot like X, Y, and Z. Like it isn't more of something that European fans, I think, can get on board with more than the NFL, where sure, the NFL is easier to access, but if you're looking for like true passion for a team, for an area, that's kind of what college sports gives you more than the pro sports in America.
Yeah, I've always wondered, like, I've always made the connection that college sports has always been more like European soccer or international soccer, because you're in sometimes these very small towns with these stadiums and these programs that have been around for 100 years, as opposed to pro sports. But like you mentioned, like the NFL game, it's late September, Steelers, Vikings. NFL's been doing a lot more international games. There's now talk if London could get a Super Bowl and what that would mean. Like, what is kind of the state of American football fandom in Ireland, in the UK? Is it still kind of like a novelty where people are just liking the sport, or are there now like fans of teams and everything there?
Oh no, it's very much like fans of teams. And like I know people, it's kind of crazy, like not a lot of my friends are actually very interested in it, but I know, just like even from social media, like with how, like if you follow one account, like if you follow ESPN, sure, you'll get your stuff that you like from soccer, but you're going to get stuff from basketball, you're going to get stuff from the NHL, you're going to get stuff from NFL, college football. So you're passively like finding out about these things. Like the algorithm is learning, okay, this person likes sports, let's just throw them one or two nuggets of things, and then that sort of leads to more intrigue. I think what's going to really help college football is having the college football game. I think that is really going to help people, because I think one of the problems that these sports have is the rosters are so big there's a load of players you need to learn. Like, sure, you can know one or two players, but you don't feel like a true fan. Like, if you can go into the game and you can learn, hey, like, I know the backup quarterback's name, that's just the same as being like, oh, I follow this soccer team in England and I know, every, the 22, 23 players on the team. If I knew like 10 players on a college football team, I feel just as connected. If I know 20 something players on an NFL team, I feel just as connected. You can have more conversations with people. It allows you to connect. And even when I talk to people, Americans, they're surprised. I know, I might know X player because they were just a player who got drafted from a really small college. Me and Dara were talking about an Irish player went to play for the University of Richmond, and it got brought up in a podcast, and me and him at the exact same time just mentioned Kyle Lauletta out of nowhere. And it was just one of those moments where it's like, okay, there's an audience for even the most niche topics like over here. And me and Dara, we could talk for ages about some of the more niche players in the NFL, but there is with the way the game is growing, I think with how America is only such a big country, like soccer is worldwide. Everyone calls it American football, and I think there is a market for it with how we've seen how many players as well, like relish going away. I mean, even this Dublin game, like it's the first time a lot of these players will have ever left America. It's the first time they've ever needed to get a passport to go somewhere. I think it was Haynes King last year had said he'd never left. Like he'd basically been to like Texas and Georgia in his entire life and nowhere else. So, this is something I think that fans really appreciate because it gives them a chance. It gives them an in. Like, the tickets for this are, at the moment, I think the cheapest ones are about €60, which obviously isn't cheap, but the All Ireland Championship here for Gaelic football and for hurling, the tickets for that were €60, and you're just going up and down on the same day. It's the same price, but you get that every year. While for college football, you get this once a year, right at the start of the year, during good time of the year, good weather, right as the summer's winding down. So yeah, I think the game is very much growing here. I'm looking forward as well because we're getting a lot more Irish players not only playing the game but getting into college football, through getting scholarships, which is something that I know Tig Leader has been making a real big push on. He played over in the States. He played rugby and then switched to being a kicker and a punter. So we're getting a lot more opportunities, I think. And, sometimes it can just be like finding one player to latch onto, and then that latches you onto a team for, the rest of time.
Yeah, you mentioned the price. I've actually on with me. I've got some euros from my trip that I didn't get extras. I have nowhere to spend them here. So
I have $20 here. I got
there we go. We
$20.
can trade. We can trade over the computer. So like, what are you typically doing on a Saturday, kind of in your role? Are you watching college football as much as you can throughout the day?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, because you say during the day, but college football doesn't start over here until like 3 or 4 o'clock. So I can actually like go and enjoy my day. Like it's the same for NFL. Like NFL over here starts at 6 o'clock on the dot every day. So I get to like do stuff for the day, and it's a Sunday as well. So no one's bothering me on a Sunday evening to try and go do something. It's a bit more difficult on a during the year when it's a Saturday at 6 o'clock, people are like, come on, we'll go do something for the evening. And I'm like, no, I have to watch Boise State take on Oregon, at 11:30. But it is something, I usually, during the week, we pick out a few games that, just to highlight during the week, because, no offense to some of the smaller programs, it is a case of, fans over here don't want to have to watch 10 games during the weekend. They're usually trying to lock in on 1 or 2 games depending on the, when they line up in the schedule. Usually I'll have two games on, and if I'll always keep track of scores and whatever else is going on, and I might switch between one. Like if one's becoming a bit of a blowout, I'll switch to another game. Usually I'll always keep one game on that I think is like the marquee one, or if there's a player I'm watching. Last season I watched a lot of Iowa State and Kansas State just to prepare for this year. this year it's going to be watching a lot of North Carolina and TCU, which I'm actually looking forward to watch TCU because I like a lot of what their team could be. And then obviously, with the Bill Belichick factor, I think there's going to be a lot of people sort of locked in on, at least in the early season, if things go well, on North Carolina as well. But that's usually kind of how my weekend pans out, is watch a lot of college football on Saturday evening and watch NFL football on Sunday evening, which, I suppose is the same for a lot of people over in the States as well.
So can you access games pretty easily there? Because I remember a couple of years ago, ESPN had changed something with their international feed in college. In college football, it's suddenly become kind of difficult to watch there. Are you able to watch?
So
how much can you watch?
I think we get usually we get every Notre Dame game. That's a Sky, that's one of the providers, Sky. But that's like a UK, like that's UK and Ireland. So that's not just to placate because we're Irish, we want to watch Notre Dame. We usually get some ESPN games. I remember watching who was it? It was Missouri against Alabama, where they blew them out last season. I remember watching that. That was on Sky as well. But we actually don't know where we can watch it this year because there hasn't been a deal struck at all. So this weekend's game, it was free. It was free to watch in Ireland last year, and I think part of David Shanahan, the Irish player playing in it, played a part in that. But this year we have no deal as to where we can watch college football. So usually we're looking for sort of alternative methods, is kind of the way we like to put it, of watching some games, especially if it's a smaller some of the smaller teams as well.
And I imagine that makes it difficult for the sport to grow there, but NFL, is that a lot more accessible?
NFL is maybe one of the most accessible things. Like over here, there's highlight shows in the middle of the week. You can get Red Zone on not on TV, but you can get it's on DAZN over here. You can get a DAZN subscription, and it just you get that. On Sky Sports, there's one or they have 2 NFL games every week that they focus on, and then they have the Thursday Night Football and Monday Night Football, but it's just the Monday Night Football production, Thursday Night Football production over here. So like NFL is 10 times more accessible. It'll be interesting to see. I would assume in the next week a deal or something will be struck so we can watch college football, but it is, you don't get to go on your ESPN app and switch between multiple different games. It is very much like, this is the game we're giving you and you can't watch any other game.
Interesting. Yeah, because I remember I wrote about TV a year or two ago, and I remember some British fans were having some issues with that.
Yeah.
So hopefully they get that figured out for you guys. As we wrap up here, I always want to ask an Irish person, what is the feeling you guys have about Notre Dame being called the Fighting Irish?
Okay, so it's Fighting Irish, fine. It's just, I think it's the leprechaun that throws people off. It's the leprechaun, not even like the person leprechaun. I think 2 years ago the person who was the leprechaun was actually Irish. I could be wrong about that, or he's definitely of like very close Irish descent. But I had a friend who he did 1 semester in Notre Dame last year. He did the first semester. The last game he got to go to was the playoff game. He literally did the playoff game, left the next day. But I think most people are fine with it. I think they just kind of find it funny. The story behind it is actually a good story. It's not like, a stupid story. So I think, if they look into it, they're actually like, okay, it's actually for a good reason why they're called the Fighting Irish. I think hopefully like they should be coming back in a few years. Like usually it's, they'll take, I think last time they played was 2014, then they came in 2022 or 23. Yeah. So like, we expect there to be gaps, but it is very much a case of like, if there is a team associated with Ireland, it probably is them. I mean, even if you go to any of the airports at the moment, they're still selling they still sell Notre Dame like hoodies and stuff, just that may have been left over from the game, but obviously like they still sell pretty well. Like I always see them whenever I have to fly, like not even to America, just to like different places in Europe, they're always there. But yeah, I think most people, I'm okay with it anyway. I mean, it would be worse if they were called like the Cowardly Irish. And
yeah, that's true. Last one. We always end this podcast with Remember Some Guys, where we all shout out a former college football player. Do you have any guys you'd like to remember, or a favorite college football player that comes to mind for you?
So this one, I listened to the podcast you put up last night at the day of recording, and I was like, if I did get asked this question, who would I think of? And I decided to go for someone who played in the college football classic, and this is Ethan Hull. I believe it's Ethan Hull, running back for Northwestern. He had like a huge game when they came to Ireland. Like they went 1-11 that year. That was the only game they won, but he had a huge game. We were told by the fans, like, if there's like, we have Peter Skoronsky and we have Ethan Hull. These are the two guys. These are the only two guys you need to watch on our team, and both of them played pretty well that day. So yeah, Ethan Hull is probably the guy I remember the most.
There we go. Shout out to Ethan Hull. We remember you. Conall, thanks for joining the show. Real quick, where anybody can check out your work, where should they go?
Yeah, so I mean, you can follow my Twitter. I'm planning on trying to be more active. I mean, I took a little bit of a break this summer. I was just, relaxing. We release a podcast every week. It's usually Wednesday or Thursday. That's on that's Pro Football Ireland. We release multiple different podcasts, but it'll be on that feed wherever you get your podcasts. And there's a Instagram account, Pro Football Ireland College Football. And if you want to see any of the stuff I've written or done, you could check my Twitter feed. It's on there, just Conall Diggin, my name. And yeah, you'll see it on there.
All right, we'll link to that in the show notes as well. Conall, thanks for the time. Enjoy the game on Saturday. You'll be there. And thanks for joining the show from Ireland. Appreciate it.
Thanks very much.
Thank you to Conall for taking the time. Had a great chat with him. We'll might have him on again later in the season. And maybe if we're at the national championship in Miami, we will try to see him there in person. That would be fun. So with that, it's time for the final segment of the show where we talk about some old college football players. Remember some guys.
What's better than this? Guys being dudes.
Dave, I'll let you go first on this one.
Well, we've talked about some G5 conferences today, and I'm going to give a shout out to one of our Tuesday night warriors, Garrett Wolf. Northern Illinois, I feel like outside of Boise, Chris, Northern Illinois is like a top 3 to 5 program in the G5. What did you not say? They're close, at least in terms of history and just having great seasons. That Heisman finalist in Jordan Lynch. Garrett Wolf, absolute baller. In his 3 years at Northern Illinois, he ran for 1,656 yards, 1,580 yards, and 1,976 yards. Total of 52 touchdowns. First team All-MAC all 3 years. Was an All-American his last year. Incredible career. 5'7". I love my short kings, Chris. They're my kindred spirits. Garrett Wolf, salute. Watching you was extremely fun. Loved every minute of it.
We remember you, Garrett Wolf. I coincidentally also have a small running back. We talked about Kansas State earlier in the show. I gotta go Darren Sproles, man. He was the original for me. Little back, came out of nowhere. We talked on the last episode. It was 2002, 2003 when I got into college football. Darren Sproles with Hal Roberson, that Kansas State team that beat up on Oklahoma. Unbelievable time for him, and he got in the NFL. Was there for a bit. He still works for the Philadelphia Eagles, it looks like.
All right.
He 5'6" is what he was listed at. But he's
underrated part of Remember Some Guys, Chris, that I didn't think about is Googling the guys you remember. Like, what's he doing now?
Yeah, he is a personnel consultant for the Eagles. He played 15 years in the league. I did not realize he lasted for that long.
That's
unbelievably
kind of insane
fun
for
player.
somebody that size. Yeah.
One of those guys, you get him in the open field, you're done. What a joy to watch. Go back and watch some Darren Sproles highlights on YouTube. You can absolutely do that. I mentioned it earlier in the show. Listener N Wiggins 11 had his own recommendation for Remember Some Guys. He or she says, going down to the FCS level, I'd like to remember former University of San Diego quarterback Josh Johnson. I'm sure more people know him as the ultimate journeyman QB, but I remember him electrifying the field at Torero Stadium while being coached by Jim Harbaugh. Keep up the amazing work, fellas. I gotta admit, I don't remember Josh Johnson in college.
I remember him as the quintessential spring league quarterback. That's how I remember. Was he like the number 1 pick in the UFL draft or XFL draft? I don't know. They all kind of run together.
One of those, yeah. Mm-hmm. But he has played. Here's a list of NFL teams he's played for, in order since 2008. Buccaneers 40. Buccaneers, 49ers, Sacramento Mountain Lions, Browns, Bengals, 49ers, sure. Bengals, Jets, Colts, Bills, Ravens, Giants, Texans, Raiders, Redskins, San Diego Fleet, Lions, LA Wildcats, San Francisco 49ers, Jets, Ravens, Broncos, 49ers, Ravens, and he is currently on the Washington Commanders. Unbelievable resume right there. Josh Johnson, we remember you and apparently can still watch you. So.
I guess the San Diego Fleet, I had to Google it. It reminded me that the AAF existed, the shortest lived of the recent spring leagues.
Did not make it.
COVID killed the AAF, but that was
what a time. Money killed the AFF. COVID killed the XFL when the XFL came back. So if any listeners, you want to recommend people, nominate people for Remember Some Guys, please send that to bunchformationpod@gmail.com and we will shout them out as well. Having so much fun doing this segment.
Yeah.
And that's going to do it here. First preview shows in the books. We went long, but appreciate Conall for taking the time.
We had a lot to get to.
Picks. We had a lot to get to. And now we're going to get to actual college football. Folks, we made it. Thank you for following the show. We got a lot of exciting things coming this season. I'm looking forward to it. We're going to try to go live as much as we can, mix some things up, figure it out as the season goes along. But we'll be in your feeds at least twice a week during the season. And we'll get into more of that next week. But for now, I'm Chris Vannini. He is David Ubben. We will see you probably on Saturday night watching some college football.
Yes, sir. And bring back the turnover chain while you're at it.